into excitement, and wanting to figure it out. And we get excited, we high five, we get emotional and teary eyed. Yeah, like that just happened, because your brain doesn't quite understand it. But we all sort of do believe that the living is far more terrifying than the ghosts and the dead. And none of us have been really hurt by a ghost.
Oh, wow. Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode. All right, guys. Steve Gonsalves here from Ghost Hunters and the new book, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. This is really awesome. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. You've investigated over 1,000 places.
That's true. I've been doing it for a long time, and I've been fortunate to have that sort of interest.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people get bit by that a bug to be in all places, creepy and awful.
Absolutely.
But there I am in all these abandoned, haunted places. And,
Do you have a fearless mentality, or do you still get kind of scared in certain situations?
You get startled for sure. Like I'll get startled if something happens. Most investigators I know will get a little startled because you never know really when or how, but it's not always malicious, so you keep that in mind and remind yourself that it's very likely that this was a person at one time. Startled, and then it really translates into excitement, and wanting to figure it out. And we get excited, we high five, we get emotional and teary eyed. Yeah, like that just happened, because your brain doesn't quite understand it. But we all sort of do believe that the living is far more terrifying than the ghosts and the dead. And none of us have been really hurt by a ghost.
Oh, wow.
We know stories where people, get chased out. We've been chased out by frying pans and guns and people with clubs and crowbars.
You serious?
Yeah. It's pretty.
That is crazy. So you literally just saw a frying pan coming at you?
Well, a person with a frying pan. Yeah,
Wow.
These are the people at the locations. Ghosts, they tend to be a little more reserved, it seems, but the people are quite a little more
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And the thing with ghosts is they could be there for hundreds of years, right? It could be
That's
like an
right.
old death.
Yeah, it can be as long as that energy could be trapped or left behind, or it can be there for quite some time, and it can predate modern structure. So it may not make sense that this place is haunted because you're in a newer modern house, that sort of thing. But you got to think about what may have happened on the land before that.
Right.
And it's not always, these destructive and chaotic and terrible scenarios. It can also be moments of love, and deep devotion and things like that. So the haunting phenomena really stems from extreme emotions more so than this death, this tragedy.
Right.
But those seem to be a little more fun to investigate
Yeah.
and go after. But it could be a lot of different reasons for the haunting.
Yeah, I feel like those are the most viral ones, when it's like the murderers or something tragic like that, right?
For sure. Quite honestly, I mean, even I prefer those type of just funner to chew on and get into, and are more fun. But it can get in your head a little bit. You start to feel sad or start to think about these stories and these people and the phenomena that you're experiencing. You have to remind yourself that this was, somebody going through a terrible tragedy in their life. And you need to remember that and respect that. But it also could be, a great moment in someone's life, and you're now a part of that. It's quite interesting.
Absolutely. So what sparked this curiosity into ghosts? Did you have an incident when you were a kid?
I didn't have an incident like any sort of, not that started my interest. I actually did, but didn't realize what it was until after. But my interest started really by watching a movie. Quite honestly, it was called The Entity. I was terrified, and my mom didn't even know what I was watching. She's like, "What are you watching?" And at the end, it said based on true events. And I said, "Oh my gosh, is this really something that can be happening?" But that sort of started my interest, and I started reading about it and all of that at a young age, maybe 8 or 9. But when I was really young, I was on a floor with a friend at her house, and she was playing with a light bright. That's um, a sort of toy that has these plastic pegs that light up, and you can make clowns and different faces or whatever you
Yeah.
want. And all of a sudden, I started hearing this plastic sound, like chink, chink, chink. And I was like, what's happening? And come to find out, the light bright pegs were flinging off of the floor and hitting the wall behind my friend.
Wow.
And it was her mom came over and looked at me and said, Jamie needs to go to bed. It's time to call your parents to come pick you up. And I didn't even realize what that was until she found out that I was interested in the paranormal. And, she called me up and was like, don't you remember what was always happening at my house when we were kids? And I was like, oh my gosh. She's like, I lived in a haunted house. So that was really my first memory of paranormal phenomena, but I wouldn't consider that my first sort of experience, because it not only was it not my own, but I didn't really put it together that it was something paranormal until I was, maybe a teenager, 15, 16.
Wow. That is interesting. Do you believe certain people have the ability to communicate with ghosts, like these psychics or mediums, whatever you want to call it?
That's an interesting question. When it comes to psychics and mediums, it's something that's been studied for a long, long time. And quite honestly, the more I learn about uh, things and science and how energy interacts in the environment, I kind of tend to think that that sort of phenomena it can actually be true. And it's hard for anybody that doesn't have those gifts to really understand what's happening.
Yeah.
But I do believe that there are people out there that are communicating in some way with energy. And if that's not true, I do believe that there are people out there who certainly believe that they are.
Right.
And that could be beneficial, quite honestly, as well, as long as they're not just lying and making up stories.
Yeah.
For especially for monetary reasons, that would be.
I'm not a fan of those type of psychics. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a gift I have. I have many friends who I love and trust who claim to have those abilities, and I have no reason to believe that they would make things up or mislead anybody.
Right.
So I personally would love to have an experience solid enough that I would consider, where I could just answer that question, yes.
Okay.
But I will say we were investigating a place in Arkansas, and there was a gentleman named Carol giving Jason on our show, Jason Haas, a reading. And I don't know how to explain this, but we had a thermal camera, which works, shows energy and heat waves, and you could see a reading, a discrepancy on the interface, and it looked like some sort of mass or energy or heat, in this case, moving from Carol, who was the psychic, and going towards Jason. And I don't know how to explain that.
Wow.
It was only during the reading. And then what was interesting is the gentleman just goes, okay, it's over. I have no more info. And he just kind of went like that with his arms, and it all just stopped and disappeared. And, I don't know how to explain that. That's quite interesting.
Are you interested in coming on the Digital Social Hour podcast as a guest? Well, click the application link below in the description of this video. We are always looking for cool stories, cool entrepreneurs to talk to about business and life. Click the application link below, and here's the episode, guys.
But yeah, that's sort of a long answer to a quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So those thermal cameras, are they able to pick up ghosts based off heat?
Well, I'm not sure if they are picking up a ghost like there. It can be energy that's sort of been burned into the atmosphere over time, or it could be there as a signature in real time. And we have experienced that. So I would say that it is picking up an energy for sure. But if you think of a ghost as, I was a person and I was alive and now I'm dead, and I am here showing myself to you and interacting with you, I'm not sure. But definitely humanoid and human figures that aren't there in front of us. And, we take a lot of steps to make sure it's not our own thermal reflections or our own images bouncing off of things. And so when we are holding that, usually we use a FLIR, which is just a forward-looking infrared. That's the type of thermal that most investigators use. and you're seeing a human shape through this camera, and it's not you, and there's nobody else in the room. It's kind of hard to explain that.
Yeah.
But does that mean it's a ghost right there in real time? That I don't think anybody really knows. But I will
Interesting.
say, we have seen things move on command through the thermal. So I would say that if you would consider that a ghost and not just some sort of unconscious or conscious, I guess, if it's paying attention to us, energy,
Yeah.
that's where it sort of gets a little muddy. Is it a ghost or is it just energy?
Right.
That's what we're still trying to figure out.
Yeah, whenever you see ghost photos or alien photos or any cryptic photos online, they seem to always be blurry, right?
Yeah.
So do you think they just can't be picked up on camera?
Personally, when it comes to like the photos and even some of the video, we have got some that are quite clear, but we don't have the answers as to why. We really don't. It can be that it's ocular. Maybe it's just that the equipment that we're using isn't sensitive enough to capture very vibrant. In other cases, we have got some really interesting footage, and I've seen some pictures and videos of things that would make me believe that they are getting these in a much more high definition than I
Interesting.
think what we're seeing. So you do see both, but I think sometimes it's just being in the right place at the right time.
Right. I could see that. Yeah, because that Miami alien incident, all the photos and videos were blurry.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what to believe there. Do you believe in like aliens and other paranormal creatures like that?
I do. I mean, I've never seen any proof of aliens or anything like that personally, but I kind of, excuse me, I kind of had have that shared belief that, how vast the universe is. How could we really be the only living creatures out there? But we investigated Wright-Patterson Air Force Base once, and they literally took us out onto the tarmac, and they said, "You cannot cross that yellow line." And we're all like, "Okay, sure, we won't." And he was like, "No, you can't." And these are MPs, big guys and gals, with guns ready to.
Wow.
And they said to us, "No, if you cross that yellow line, it's 2 in the chest and 1 in the head."
Damn.
And he looked around and he said, "Those snipers out there, I went to lunch with them, and they'll kill me if I cross that line."
Wow.
And we're like, "What is in that hangar over there?"
That's crazy.
But people who believe in Hangar 18 and that sort of thing would speculate that perhaps that is where there is, or where there are some maybe biological beings or even some craft.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Interesting.
But they were very serious. Do not. You need to understand. Like, you go over there.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Yeah.
We had to get Pentagon clearance to be there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and they really made sure, like, hey, don't cross that line.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite journey you've done? You've done over 1,000, but is there one that stands out to you?
For me, I love Waverly Hills in Louisville, Kentucky, Pennhurst, which is in Pennsylvania, and these places that have seen a lot of extreme emotions and tragedies, tend to be quite active. And for me, the frequency of activity and how they're not shy. You'll see stuff, you'll hear things. Happens quite often at those two places. I'd say if you're looking to see something or experience something, and you go to Waverly Hills, your chances are quite likely.
Wow.
That's
Where's that
something. That's in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
It's an awesome place, sprawling. It was a tuberculosis hospital, and I think something like, and don't quote me because my numbers could be off, but I think it's 60,000 people in just a short time passed away, and they, terrible. They actually had to build a tunnel that they call the death chute or the death tunnel, the body chute, to get the bodies out for a few reasons, because there were so many, but also because, can you imagine being a patient and you just see dead body after dead body being wheeled by you? Morale is going to be
low.
quite...
Wow, yeah, the energy there must be so... You probably feel it as soon as you walk in there.
That's exactly what it is.
Wow, it's just heavy.
Yep, yeah, you could tell. And quite honestly, it's can be a little unnerving. People were there who went through some really terrible things.
Yeah.
And you need to really take it seriously when you go to places like that, because you're dealing with people's, lives. And
Right.
a lot of times they've gone through things that we don't even want to think of.
Yeah. Have you experienced any lingering effects after in a journey? Like, do you see ghosts entering your dreams? Do they follow you home? Anything like that?
It's a great question. There are a lot of investigators who claim that things, follow them home, now their house is haunted because they've been to certain places, or they've acquired items.
Yeah.
But for me, I've never had that happen.
Wow.
Luckily, either I'm not that interesting, like I'm not going home with this guy, or it doesn't, there's no reason for it to attach to me. But what sticks with me are the stories and the thoughts. And, there's a place that I'll never return to because it was a hate crime.
Wow.
Someone threw a Molotov cocktail in and killed a bunch of gay gentlemen, and that's something I think about that all the time. So the stories and the things stick with you over time, more so I think than the phenomena itself.
Interesting. I have a theory about the dream world being linked to the spirit world.
Oh,
Yeah, because I've had dead people show up in my dreams.
okay.
What do you think about dreams? Do you think there is a linkage there?
There are definitely stories that would make it seem like there are. There's an oral tradition of, there's oral history, of people claiming that loved ones are coming in their dreams, going really almost all the way back to caveman, and when they can see drawings and things, are able to really they're able to see that is something that is talked about through time. Now, is that really a portal into a different world? I'm not sure. Is that a sort of an easy way to come in? Or if you talk to scientists, anybody in the medical field, they'll say that a dream is just a dream.
Right.
But what's interesting is some people can share the same dream and not know each other, and even return and go places.
Wow.
Right? So they can say, go down this hallway, take a right, go down this hallway, take a left, or go down this path and take a right at the tree. And other people are in that same dream world where they can go down the path, take a right at the tree. And so I don't know. Right. So how do you explain that if it's not some sort of shared linked place? So it could make sense that, it is a bit of a, what makes you, were the loved ones that you knew?
So yeah, crazy. So the night my grandmother passed, I'd never had her in a dream before this. And I didn't know she passed. So I went to bed and she appeared in my dream. We were holding hands and she was trying to find my dad because they were on bad terms. So she died with some, they weren't talking at the time. And we were trying to find my dad the whole dream. We were running and panicking and we couldn't find him. And that was the dream. Wow. And I woke up that morning and my mom told me she died.
Jeez.
So that to me was crazy because she was never in a dream before. And it was such a vivid dream for me.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, it's sad, to think of, but that experience, it sounds really cool. And everybody knows their body, their environment more than anybody else, and what dreams feel like. And that maybe this doesn't feel like that. This is something different, perhaps. Maybe somebody did visit you in this case, your mom. But wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was interesting, man.
Yeah.
There's a theory about portals, right? And how mirrors could be portals, and there's potentially portals and vertexes throughout the earth. Are you a believer in that theory?
I'm coming around to that theory, quite honestly. If you asked me 10 years ago, I would say no. I wouldn't believe that there are portals and things like that. But there are two sort of sides to it. If you talk to physicists and you read up on people like Brian Cox, who says that if a wormhole, who says that if a wormhole or a black hole, which would work much like a portal would or could, if anything were to pass through it, it would likely just collapse. But then I've talked to physicists myself who have told me that they believe in that possibility. It's likely that, in other dimensions, it would just be sound waves and light waves, but they're not sure. And you can ask, and I've asked physicists. I was very fortunate to put together a documentary where I interviewed many physicists, and they all, quite honestly, believed in other dimensions.
Wow.
All of them. You ask them, and I kept it in the documentary where I would say, do you believe in ghosts? And the physicist will laugh at me, like, I don't believe in ghosts.
Yeah.
But they believe in other dimensions. Now, can those, be accessed through portals? That's where I think it's still
Bigfoot, apparently, right?
if Bigfoot exists, maybe, but the fact that all these physicists are telling me that they believe in other dimensions, and things that I've experienced, maybe that is quite possible.
Yeah.
Are there portals now that we can enter and they can enter and go back and forth? I don't think anybody can say definitively, but that is really something to ponder if that's where maybe the paranormal phenomena is coming from, maybe where alien phenomena is coming from.
Right.
But who knows, quite honestly. Are mirrors acting? I have never seen any evidence to support that. I've never had any or heard of any physicist saying that that is possible or that it's being used in that way. But if you can believe in the stuff I believe in, I'm open to anything.
Right.
But I need to sort of see it for myself, experience it for myself, and I tend to lean on, if I haven't experienced it for myself, I tend to lean a little bit more towards what could actually be possible in our physical world. If it happens in our physical world, it does need to obey our current understanding of physics,
right?
Or else I'm misinterpreting the experience, or it's in my head. Not because I've gone, a little out of my head, but just because things can happen. You can have visuals and experience things that aren't quite there in front of you for a lot of different reasons other than it being paranormal.
Right.
So perhaps something like that.
Hallucinations, right?
Hallucination, sure. From, a lot of people take micro naps, and they don't even realize it's happening.
Right.
They just fall asleep in their chair and they don't even know it's happening. And that sort of quick dream state can come in and you think it's quite real.
Yeah.
And, sleep deprived people, they're marathon runners. There's a famous story of a marathon runner, and she was getting, close, and she literally would see rabbits and different animals saying, "You can do it,"
Wow.
But she's hallucinating
because she's tired.
Exactly, because she's so tired, but she has that drive.
Interesting.
So that can, all that can happen.
Yeah. That's cool to see you actually talk to scientists and get their perspective, because as a ghost hunter, that's the opposite, right? You believe in spirituality and stuff. So
I do, and I thought, when I really took a close look at science and started to get into physics a little bit, not that I'm studied by any, I just read, but I thought it would maybe dispel my belief a little bit, but it's actually affirmed my belief in the paranormal, which is something I didn't quite expect, because I was a little scared, naively, because you don't want your beliefs and what you love to sort of be shattered,
right.
And I thought maybe that would happen a little bit, but it didn't at all. If anything, it made me believe in paranormal phenomena, or the ability to see paranormal phenomena more. The more I sort of studied and got a little deeper into physics.
Yeah, it's such a divisive topic, right? Because you either do or don't believe in ghosts.
Sure. Yeah. That you're absolutely right. There aren't many people who are like, well,
yeah, there's no in
between. Yeah. But most investigators I know and work with, do sort of teeter that line, not on their belief, but on the individual experiences. Oh, did I really see that? Did that really just happen? And they get a little analytical. You don't want to just go, whoa, unless it's something, because your
right.
body will tell you. You'll go through all kinds of different things, feelings and emotions that you didn't expect.
Yeah, because when you're investigating, you don't want to force it, right? You want it just to happen and then be logical about
yeah.
it.
Yep. I don't think there's any way to maybe force it, but we'll definitely use techniques to try to coerce an interaction. Things like rapport building, and because if it has, a conscious, and it's there and it can hear, and it's an intelligent type of energy or being, a spirit, whatever you want to label it. We do see in our case study that when you build a rapport, a little more likely to get an interaction for sure. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't expect that.
Yeah. It's if you just walk in, hey, show yours, I know you're here. What are you doing? Show yourself. Maybe it's not gonna, come out.
Respond, yeah.
If you're thinking of it or looking at it or experiencing it as a human phenomena, if this person didn't want to talk to you when they're alive, maybe they don't in death,
Yeah.
and so, walking around barking may not always be the best. Now, you can also implement that as a technique as well. I see investigators provoking and doing different things to, elicit an interaction. And that's a good technique if it's used properly,
Right.
also, for sure.
Yeah, I want to get your opinion on spirit boxes and if you think you're actually communicating with the ghost. Because I was at Zach Bagans' museum in Vegas.
Sure.
And there's a spirit box in the basement. Apparently, there was a lot of demonic possessions down there and exorcisms and stuff. So I was provoking it, trying to get responses, and it was actually responding.
Okay.
So I was just wondering, do you think that's actually like a spirit or something?
There's two schools of thought when it comes to that, and one is, of course, it's impossible, that can't be happening. You're just getting rogue frequencies, or you're getting any sort of thing, and creating it to be, or making it be something. So, for instance, if the device says car, you could easily just go, I knew it. It's out by the car. Let's go. So it can be easily, it can manipulate you. It really can manipulate you. But the investigators that use those devices that I love and trust, I see that they are looking for patterns. If it can say a certain word or say something once, why can't it 2 or 3 times? So if you say, and I'm just, using a random question, if you say, is your shirt blue or red? And you hear blue, try to get it to say it 2 or 3 times. If it goes blue, car, grape, then, likely you're not communicating with anything. So
Got it.
those devices, I think, could be possibly communicating with something. But if you're going to use them, I would implement some safeguards to make sure that you actually are, in the world of sort of the critically thinking when it comes to investigating. 2 is a coincidence. 3 is a pattern.
That's good to know. Because like you said, people ask the question once and then freak out if they answer, but you should ask it 2 or 3 times, right?
Sure, absolutely. I think so. And that, I think, will help you, even as an investigator, bring that evidence forward with more confidence.
Right.
So if anybody comes at you and says, "Oh, it could be," no. I asked this 3 times in a row. I did this, and you can really combat the skeptics in that regard. But most investigators aren't there to sort of change skeptics' mind, because most of us, myself included, are skeptically minded.
Which is important, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely
Because
right.
if you're just a firm believer, you're going to start manifesting all sorts of things, right?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
slightest sound could be a ghost.
Right. And that's more fun. It really is. We want everything to be a ghost.
Yeah.
I never want it, and unless I'm helping a family or somebody in a crisis situation where they really don't want it to be a ghost, then I don't either. Quite honestly, I want to disprove everything for them, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But by and large, if we're just investigating a place, I always want it to be a ghost, because that's what we do. That's, where we can. That's what we're doing it for.
Absolutely. So families are calling you about like their house being haunted?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You show up and try to disprove it?
Yeah. A lot of families, a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
Even now we get, government, like I mentioned, right, Patterson Air Force, places where,
Right.
you don't expect them to call and say, hey, we need help with our haunting, but we've done Buffalo Trace, the whiskey, we go anywhere that they are having a hard time. But our focus has always been in still, lives with families and helping people, because, whether you believe what they're saying or not, as long as they believe, that's all that matters. Because if they believe their house is haunted, they're moving. They don't want to be there, and if we can educate them and let them know what's really happening, or maybe that nothing is happening, they love that, and they'll stay in their house, and that's important. But if it is something paranormal, we let them know as well. And, we've had clients that have moved, and not been able to stay.
I don't blame them, honestly.
Oh yeah, sure. And it's not but usually they, once you deliver that info, there are ways where we can help them, take control of their house back and be
Yeah.
comfortable in their house. But it does take some time
To
and
clear
a
the
lot.
energy out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or to just let them know what's happening and how to, you really can humanize it for them and make it not so scary. And then they end up being able to live with it and interact with it in a safe way and comfortable way.
Wow.
But some people don't want to, take that time. They're like, haunted, I'm out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
2 weeks later, their house is for sale.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that. And you don't have to disclose if it's haunted. So the next person just deals with it, right?
Yeah. That's absolutely true. There are some states, and I believe Massachusetts, where I live, is one of them where you are supposed to
Oh, yeah?
disclose that.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, you're right. By and large, you don't have to be like, and guess what? There's some demons in here.
Yeah. No, because I was telling you before this, we just found out my house I grew up in New Jersey was haunted by a pervert.
Oh gosh.
So I told you when I was a kid, I used to have to sleep with the lights on.
Yeah.
And I always wondered why I felt like someone was watching me growing up. So that was weird to find out, man.
That sounds terrifying, quite honestly.
Yeah,
Like,
it's super weird.
I know this is like a silly question even asked, but what makes you think it was like a perverted presence?
Yeah, that's a good question, I guess. But I have like this spiritual coach / advisor, and she just read the house, and that's what she said. So
Okay,
I don't
I
have
see.
like proof of it, but
Sure.
I think there was definitely some sort of dark energy in that house.
Yeah. Did you get that feeling when you were a kid that
All the
something
time.
was? Wow,
I would have to
yeah.
sleep with the lights on. I would get sleep paralysis. It was just, it always felt kind of heavy. I never felt like I got a good night's rest.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. How are you feeling now? Do you feel
Way
like
better.
anything? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I live in Vegas now, and yeah,
So nothing's followed you around or anything?
no, but maybe you guys got to get over there
Hey,
and double confirm it.
I mean, if do you still own the property or there?
No, my mom sold it, but I'm sure I could find the person.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
sure they would want to know if it's haunted.
It would be interesting,
Yeah.
and yeah, that would be really. And we do find, that some people can be haunted, right? Where something is following them around, whether it's a person or some sort of energy. But likely it's more the location,
Right.
and they may be there and stay there. And so if, the new owners come in, that sort of thing, there's a good chance that they're experiencing things as well. But
Yeah, because the house was new. It was built in like the 90s or 2000s. So I think it was just whatever the land was before something happened. Or maybe there's a theory that you can move as a ghost too. So maybe he moved. I don't know.
sure, yeah, absolutely. That would be more like a either an attachment type of scenario, or there are some reports, and we've even seen some things where the phenomena is traveling. I guess at the speed of thought.
Wow.
I'm here now. I'm there.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
That's scary to think about. Yeah. And there's objects like dolls that apparently have hauntings within the doll,
Sure. Yeah.
like Annabelle, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many people really think that there is sort of a spirit or a demon or some sort of presence within, like inhabiting the body of the doll, but it's more like it would be around the doll and maybe doing things around the doll, there with the doll, maybe manipulating the doll, on the outside,
Yeah.
perhaps moving. But that, yeah, I'm very, very lucky, quite honestly, that I have a lot of things in my house that people have claimed to be haunted, that I think could be haunted, things that I've taken from haunted locations, not stealing, but for instance, I bought a sword that
Yeah.
we used once during an investigation. People have given me things, I've acquired items, and nothing has ever happened.
Wow.
In my house, and I prefer that because I value sleep.
Yeah.
I do, and quite honestly, when somebody is in a real haunted house, and they have a hard time maintaining friendships. They have a hard time maintaining relationships.
I had a hard time looking
See?
back at it. It's probably connected. Yeah.
Yeah, and even careers. If you, and this is maybe a silly comparison, but the movie Poltergeist,
Yeah.
right? In the beginning, he's family man. He's watching the game with his friends. He's having a great time. Life is awesome. Halfway through the movie, he hasn't shaved in 2 weeks. He's in a robe every day. He's lost his job. The family's at odds. And that's a little more what it's like. When people are dealing with a real haunting, it's not always like, this is awesome. Sometimes it creates havoc on their life. And so I'm pretty happy that I don't live, in a haunted
I'm
house.
so surprised because you go to so many of the most haunted places in the world and nothing's happened to you. It's impressive.
Yeah, thank you. Although I don't think anybody really knows what their interpretation of time and space is.
Yeah.
So maybe for me it seems like a long time, but they're just waiting. Like give them a couple more days. We'll be coming.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I hope
Knock
not.
on wood, right?
Yeah.
Steve, it's been fun. Anything you want to promote or close off with?
Please, yeah. I have a book called A Life with Ghosts, and they can get a signed copy at signedghostbook.com. You can find me on all the social medias at Steve Gonsalves Official, and of course, documentaries. We have The House in Between 1 and 2, where we implement science with the paranormal, and of course, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Nation.
Love it. We'll link it all below. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for coming on, and
you.
see you guys next time.